Jim started talking to me about the pulleys in your hand, and I thought it was just fascinating. So it turns out he's got this special glove. He's going to go over some stuff with us to explain what exactly these pulleys are and how everything works together in your hand.
So for you hand trainers and the power grip enthusiasts and stuff like that, there's so much amazing anatomy in the hand. And then one of the things I'd highly recommend, and a shout out to Pat McGee from Anatomy Software, is they have these awesome gloves right here that you can actually get super cheap. I don't know, like 25, 30 bucks maybe or something like that. And then it comes with an anatomy video, and then you draw out the anatomy and you learn how the anatomy works in your hand. And when you're able to activate these muscle units and stuff like that, your training significantly changes, because now you have what's the biomechanical advantage and how to do that. So even a few pounds, I imagine, in your sport is like huge over time. So so in the hand itself, and this is just a basic drawing right here, something right now, there are 18 muscles in the hand that go all the way around. So Jed and I were talking about these interossei muscles here earlier that spread your fingers apart. They also help to flex, and you see how they do is they'll flex these down. This is our interossei. They have a bony attachment and a soft tissue attachment, and then the lumbricals, which come here, come across they merge in these lateral bands here. So they help to flex the MCPs and extend the interphalangeal joints. So in that kind of like that, you said like that flask grip or that lumbrical pinch there. And so then you can see, again, our theron muscles, and there's this deeper adductor muscle that we're talking about, which is right down through here.
Just move.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
Yep, it goes along here, this third metacarpal. It has a transverse head and an oblique head, and it comes across to the thumb. It helps us pinch and brings that thumb in. So what we're going to talk about today with these pulleys is that the pulleys form kind of this linkage that keeps the long flexor tendons in check in your fingers when you make a fist. So when you make that fist, your fingers have to glide and slide. So you'll see here, the green is the superficialis tendon, the blue is the profundus tendon that goes to the tip of the finger.
So superficialis means outer.
Yep.
Superficial.
Yep.
And then profundus is deeper.
Deeper, yeah. The profundus, deeper, bigger, longer, and they all originate out of the forearm down here. Usually the profundus are all connected. Sometimes there are different variations. They'll have maybe one that's off or something like that. They all come from different, but they all come from pretty much the same muscle belly in the forearm. So the superficialis, or the superficial one here at the PIP joint, you'll see if in this green, it bifurcates or splits. That's more superficial. And then the profundus has to pierce through that tissue to go to the tip. So the superficialis, this tendon right here, is the one that initiates flexion in your fingers. So if you try to go to bend your fingers like this, usually you'll see that this joint is going to start that flexion first. If it didn't initiate flexion, you'd end up going into what they call a swan neck deformity, kind of like that. So that's what we're going to see right here. So when we go to make a fist, we see that hand coming down. So you want to initiate with a flexion. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn that hand over. These pulleys now that we hear talking about an awful lot. So what they do is they keep these tendons in check. So in the fingers, and not everyone's the same, but there's five annular pulleys. So these pulleys A1 and A2 are right in through here. This is your trigger finger pulley right here for the vast majority of the time. So A1 and A2 kind of come together. So I'm going to draw that on Jed's hand here really quick. So as we come through here, we're going to use his index finger. Jed's got a big canvas to draw on. So that tendon comes right up here, deep up here to the tip of the finger, just like that. And so the superficialis, that one, and just because I won't draw over top of the other, that kind of branches off here and comes around this way. So that's going to be, again, more superficial. It's going to come right on top of that. So this one's on top, this one's on bottom. Now across there, right in this area, you'll see this thing, they're called the pulleys. So A1, the odds are over the joints, is what you'll see. As right in through here, then you'll get another blend of that that's right in through about here. This is A2. So they kind of run together if you see these. So when the doc has to go ahead and cut these for a trigger finger, the A1 or the A1 pulley is what he'll cut. So they'll nick this here or cut this open and then allow that tendon to glide and slide much better up and through that compartment right in there. So if you're going to have a trigger finger release, this is the trigger, this is the pulley that they're going to release right here. Okay, the A1. So again, right around here is A1, A2, A3 kind of over the joint here, A4 right in this area here, A5 over the top of the joint. Okay, so then what you'll see in between here are these cruciate pulleys. So there are 3 for the most part. They kind of come across in this area and through here. And they, again, they come from the bone, or they help to keep that tendon in line. So, so what happens is biomechanically, makes it biomechanically advantageous. So there's all this little stuff in these fingers. And again, when you go to extend your fingers, what happens is this extensor tendon comes right up over the back of the finger. So here. And then what it does here, it trifurcates. It splits into 3. So it comes right along here, and then it merges into a central tendon right here, a mallet finger, or a zone 1 here. There are 8 extensor zones over the back of the hand and 5 flexor zones over the palmar surface. So now from here, what we'll see, so this tendon helps to extend this one, but also assists weakly with this extension of this joint right here. Across here, you have this extensor mechanism, sagittal band, and some other tissue that comes across here to form this extensor hood. So this is what you'll see here. Along the side from here then, is you'll get this thing, this is our dorsal first interossei, and what it'll do is I have attachment here into the bone, and then it'll come up and blend with these fibers here. So this, again, this muscle is right here, and it kind of splits here and here. And then around it comes another muscle on the palmar surface from this end called the lumbrical, and that'll merge with these lateral bands right here. So there's a lot of tissue and stuff like that within this area. So again, back to these pulleys, as you go to make that fist, those pulleys are going to biomechanically keep that tendon in line with those fingers to allow you to make a nice tight fist.
So the pulleys secure the tendon.
This pulleys secure the tendon. They make a biomechanical advantageous pull. So when you go to initiate flexion, those fingers don't bowstring. If there is so they, in general, they say, there's some debate about this in the hand therapy literature, that A2 and A4 are the most important for, like, if there's a structural impairment within the hand. So again, this is the one they cut the time when they do trigger finger releases. These cruciates are kind of blend right in. They're very small. You can't see them very well unless you're under a microscope. And then what you'll see again is if we were to do a splint in the clinic, we block one of these joints here. So it doesn't allow, with the trigger finger, it's something like Jed has, but it's definitely a chronic issue, is that we block one of these joints in order for them to decrease the excursion of the pull through that tendon, to decrease any friction over a period of time. So, and then through here, one thing we forgot about is the tendon sheath itself. There's a tendon sheath in there that gives nutrition to the tendon, and also support and cushion and stuff at the same time while it's in there.
Now, a lot of grip guys have torn their pulley tendon. Their pulley tendon? Is that
it's a ligament, yeah. Okay. I guess for lack of a better term, yeah, the fascial, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of climbers have torn pulley. I hear about A2 pulleys, which you're saying is right here. This one on this finger.
Yep.
So what are the most risky positions for pulley tears?
Gotcha.
From your experience with grip, in climbing, which I don't know, maybe
I've read some before on it.
So what positions? I've heard like certain crimping grips where there's the most force, puts the most pressure here. And is this like the weak point, so it blows? I mean, tell me about that.
Anything, you've said this before, anything used to its greatest extent sooner or later is going to break. However, though, especially you're getting a lot of forceful grip. One of the most difficult things is this mid-range hook position. Some puts a lot of force on that. So, like if you're hooking off, and the reason is because if that force gets too distal on the tip of that joint, this can forcefully extend and cause a deformity pattern there.
All right.
But there's a lot of force that gets pushed outward when you make that fist. So that hook, and a lot of times too, this lumbrical or intrinsic plus position isn't always a great position to be in, especially when you're trying to sustain that grasp for a period of time. You really need that full flexion where all those are involved at the same time.
Right.
So there's a lot of force. There's a particular, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's a particular study, it's been done a while ago, that they say for every pound of force that's produced in the digits, it's about 10 to 13 times that, sometimes it might be more than that, in the carpus.
Okay.
So if you've got a 1 pound grip strength, you probably, right there, you've already got
10 to 13
yeah, absolutely. So if you have a 100 pound grip strength, or whatever you have, you do the math.
Like magnitude.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so the other thing like I see people, even and new people, because they think it looks cool, they do one finger lifts.
Oh yeah.
So maybe they'll hook their middle finger around a chin-up bar, or they'll put a finger inside of like an eyelet that's attached to a loading pin.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So as a hand therapist, I'd highly suggest not do it unless you want to keep me in business. So the point is that they're not really designed to do that, right? They're designed to be and work in concert with each other.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at the grip strength, and some of my colleagues in the hand therapy world have always said that, we're going to see these people in for osteoarthritis, but I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think because what you're doing is you're keeping those muscles strong around the joint surfaces. I don't think you have any more, a power grip trainer or competitive athlete in grip has any more opportunity for arthritis than your 55-year-old, 60-year-old man or woman.
And for the most part, I would say most events are joint friendly. Mm-hmm. So like you're not purposefully putting pressure on the joints until you start crimping.
Yeah.
Or until you start like there's an implement called what is it called? The rim top. It's like you stand a plate up and you put your fingers inside the rim of a plate. Yeah. And it's like a basic grip exercise, right?
Yeah.
Like strength coach, hey, go grab the rims of that plate and hold them for time. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you go for max effort on this rim and you haven't ever trained it, I did like a sub-maximal lift where I was just showing a guy how to demonstrate this lift, and I injured both fingers in this area. Yeah. So this would be 1, 2, wait.
Odds are over the joint. So 1, 2.
Yeah, go over them again. Go over them again.
So 1, 2, 3, and 5 over the joint. In the average,
So if I'm feeling it here, so it's most likely this one, the 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
More likely. But there's also, that's in there deep to that, is the thing called the volar plate that resists hyperextension. So volar plates are here, here, and here. The fingers are amazing. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm as an amazing grip. I've been watching some of these grip videos where people do the hub. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's to me, that's amazing because the amount of force that's there, but that's also a very risky position for the hand.
And I hurt myself doing hubs.
Yeah, I'm amazed that I've seen some of the people doing hub-to-hub transfers. And I find that, and I'm just fascinated by it.
Tremendous risk. It's tremendous risk for very little to no benefit.
I would agree.
Because it does nothing to help you except for performing more hub lifts.
Right. I think it's neat, impressive to see having to pick up a 45-pound plate and do that. I think there may be some functional carryover, but I think you're talking about the amount of force, even those eccentric ones where you're picking that up and dropping it, catch it. I think it's impressive, but boy, I tell you, that's a tough position to be in because what happens if you lose that control, you snap, either hyperextend or you go into a swan neck or something like that. You end up with some kind of finger deformity. Yep. So it's tricky. It's a balance like anything else. So.
I did the A3 on my left ring finger in 2017.
Yeah. Yep. I think and again, these things here, there's a lot of force generated across those. So even in the thumb, there's pinches. There's 5 pulleys in the thumb, and you go to pinch it to stabilize with that thumb. You have them over here as well. Excuse me, 3 in the thumb. So as you move across here, for every force or pound of pinch, the thumb is magnified sometimes 10 to 15 times at the base right here in the CMC joint. Mm-hmm. So again, making sure that there's good flexibility in the forearm, mobility of these muscles in the hand, endurance overall, and keeping these things flexible is very, very important. And then these things, so when that finger flexes, that tendon wants to squish against and force itself out. Mm-hmm. If those pulleys are not intact, you'll see these ruptured pulleys sometimes. The finger will actually bowstring or pop out, and it'll look very thick, and it won't have good excursion. Mm-hmm. So what some do that blow a pulley or do that, they'll wear a pulley ring around there, and hopefully it'll maybe even scar back down. Mm-hmm. It's just a tight ring almost that goes around it. Some people want to have pulley reconstructions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Those are tough surgeries. Some people do very well with them, and then it can be because of even instability. But again, then it takes a long time to rehab those afterwards.
I bet. Yeah. Like not knowing anything about it, it took even longer for me because I did no specific rehab. There's
so many little pieces and parts that have to glide and slide. And if you just take a look, so I mean, again, shout out to Pat McGee out of Canada for putting this together. But just if you go to understand how these muscles actually work, how they work together, how they glide and slide. Here's that extensor mechanism I was telling you about just a second ago. How that finger extends and all that goes into it. You're going to have a different layer of your training that you can implement. So it's enough to, it's enough to pick up some weight and do it repetitively. But if you can do it with a purpose and you know how the muscle functions, that's going to make a difference between a champion and a,
that's fantastic.
yeah. So
thank you so much. For
absolutely,
that information.